We'll pick it up, and I beg your pardon, I didn't turn my welcome back. Turn that on.
I got a text during the break here, just we're waters over the dam on this, I guess, but Chris Tremaine was looking for $300,000 against a $900,000. What it took to be a $900,000 cost, he was looking for $300,000, but.
Yeah, he didn't say why he didn't turn up.
Well, that's a good thing. You can get $300,000 loan payment on a text message.
Right.
What's your phone number, Tom?
Thank you for updating us on that. And the decision on that one is made, and it doesn't put him totally out of the picture, but there's no change on the plan. So we'll turn to the next consultation point that was in our place document, and that one is on the biodiversity strategy. So the preferred option in the plan was to continue to progress the important work with $40,000 per year funded from general rates, and that of course is quite specifically, as the regional, as the officer's report says, targeting that position of a coordinator. So if we can pick up from that, are there any questions on this item? If not, would somebody like to
I'll
move? Okay, so that is no change to the plan, but continue to progress the important work with $40,000 per year funded from the general rates, and perhaps a better state for the position of a coordinator to clarify the. Yeah, is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Graham. Sorry, Councillor Pike, would you like to address that matter?
Yeah, I get the feeling that there was a bit of confusion on this one, that there were a lot of people, of course, who were wanting an increased spending on this, but it was quite clear, I think, in the documentation that what we were wanting was $40,000 per year. That was for funding the coordinator for the biodiversity strategy, which is the person who's going to sort of pull it all together. I mean, the biodiversity strategy, for those that've been on the planning of it, it's a big beast. It's going to get even bigger, and it leaves itself open for a number of different organisations and people and all sorts of people to be actually involved in it. But that has to be coordinated. So that's where the $40,000 is for, and I think it needs to have that person there, or else it's not going to work.
Thank you. Councillor Graham, do you wish to speak, or do you wish to withhold your right to speak? Right. Councillor Belton?
A number of the people who submitted were very active members of the biodiversity task force, which with a lot of fanfare is I think weeks away from being finalized as a final document, and which will announce a biodiversity trust, a biodiversity forum, and a lot of other things. And there's, I think it's fair to say that certainly the environmental participants in that process were always a bit disturbed that this big chunk of money was going over to Cape to Coast, even while in theory a biodiversity strategy was being assembled by this broad stakeholder group. Then, but be that as it may, the process continued along and came to closure with a presumption that, we're talking about a 10-year plan here, that there would be some significant stake beyond contributing $40,000 to a part-time staff person to actually get this trust off the ground, to give it some seed funding, to give it something that would be the basis of other fundraising that could occur around the biodiversity space. And there isn't the slightest hint in any of what we have presented to the public that we in fact have that kind of vision for implementing this strategy. So for all intents and purposes, it looks like to a whole variety of very interested players in this process that we've gone off and done made a staff-driven commitment because there was some money to scoop up from some other players, and that the rest of this is kind of put on the shelf and pretend, you know, we're interested in the subject, and throw a little bit of a pittance here to a part-time coordinator and call it a day. I have no particular opinion as to what kind of money. I mean, people have, I think some of the submitters were talking about $400,000, $500,000 being committed to this strategy over some period of time. I have no view. I could offer a dollar amount if one were to want one, but I think maybe stepping back from that, the first issue really is how do we see this playing out over the lifespan of the particular plan we're dealing with, even if we're looking at the next 3 years. Is this biodiversity trust, you know, basically going to be, you know, kiss goodbye at the front door and told good luck, see what you can raise out there in the marketplace? We've done our bit, or are we were we intending at any point to give this some kind of stake or matching money or anything that the broader group could play on, build upon going forward? So I don't find the recommendation acceptable at all. I don't find it responsive to the people who were on that committee. And while I feel more comfortable speaking for the folks who were representing kind of the environmental side of it, forest and bird, those kinds of people, I think it's fair to say that more broadly in the group, there would be surprise that there was nothing being put forward by our council than a $40,000 part-time coordinator to keep this thing moving forward.
Councillor Graham.
I just want to point out, Councillor Balfour, that this is additional. I also am happy to receive the submitters, and they were all very passionate, and you know, it's good to have people pulling us in that particular direction. It's the direction that I personally want us to be pulled in. I just want to comment on the Cape to City extension and the money which we advanced, and that wasn't pushed by staff, it was pushed by me, and I'm very proud of that. And you recall I was chair at the meeting, and I took a bit of chastising because I shouldn't have pushed it so hard, but I'm very proud of that. It's a huge, if we hadn't made that commitment, we probably would have lost the spending that was around that. It was huge private capital and also social capital going to that, and we needed to fly the flag of partnership. That is a substantial world leading edge development, bringing an extra, I think it's 25,000 hectares around what has already been done by private people out in the Cape. The pest control program step up is huge. And I also want to say, you know, we are doing, the Regional Council is not doing enough, of course, you never do enough, but I attended the Havelock intermediate thing on Saturday, and it was quite stunning. Lots of our staff there, and what they did was, it's small, but it is small steps that we're having to take because of the budget. So I know this is not everything we want, but it is what we have got right now.
Any other speakers? I would like to speak in favour of this, and in particular that the stress that this is to enable a coordinator to implement the strategy, which is a multi-agent strategy, and there will be multi-agency funding. Also would like to reiterate the comments made about the Cape to City. We approved that. We approved that spending. It might not have come through the best channels, which would have been through the annual plan, but it was a little bit unforeseen. There's an opportunity, and I would remind everybody, again, that's a multi-agency approach to this, as is the strategy. And I'd also like to pick up on the spending of the pest management, because a lot of that is actually, a significant amount of that is in multi-pest management approach to projects like Kiwi 2 blocks, and where there have been a variety of values there. We're actively putting in money there to see that these values are protected for biodiversity. So there is no question that 40,000 is our biodiversity fund. The 40,000 is additional funding to enable a position to put into place the outcomes of the strategy. So it's quite a specific funding, so I will speak in favour of the motion. Councillor Pike, would you like to sum up?
Oh, just briefly, I think it's all been said. Councillor Graham said a lot what I think was very good, you know. I think that there are high expectations on this one, and I acknowledge that, what Councillor Belford was saying. I think there are those expectations amongst the community, but it's a matter of having somebody there to bring in those community groups and make the strategy work. Someone once said to me, it's maybe not quite PC, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, and I think that's what we're doing at this particular stage, taking a big problem and actually taking it in small steps at the stage, but we'll get there in the end.
I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Can I call for a division, please? All those in favour raise their right hand. Those against? Right, that's one against. I'm going to, before we pick off, because I'd like to hold off on some of these major ones that we've got to pull together some funding impacts over. So if we can do a few more of the rats and mice and get those out of the way. That really upset me, I'm afraid. I just cut myself on the paper. Bleeding to death.
Health and safety.
Yeah, no paper should be delivered. Move to paper-free office. One of the things that has come up through, and surprisingly very little this year, is the request for wording on the annual plan. And I've managed to pick up, I think I've captured them all. Hastings District, which is submission 36, Te Tawhenua Whanganui Ōroto, submission 85, Te Tawhenua o Hiratonga, submission 25, and I think there was one other one. Perhaps that's it. The Te Whenua o Hiratonga and Te Tawhenua o Whanganui Ōroto both asked for the same changes, and that was around the activities in the plan, and submission 57 on soil health also asked for a change under that. Well, if you've got your plan, I can give you your plan documents. I can give you the reference in that. It is under activities, and it's page 2 of strategic planning activities is the first one.
And the activities document.
That's the document that we've gone out and consulted on.
What's the actual?
No, it's the actual plan documents, which is all of these details that we had.
The supporting documents.
The supporting accountability document.
Well, everything that you're consulting on. If you turn to your Taipinua, which is, or Heratonga, which is submission 25, you can read exactly what they asked for. 25. I think so. The submission was on, including in that section on strategic planning, a section on hydrology of groundwater and surface water, and a statement around sustainable added to the ecosystem statement.
Sorry, was this the typing one?
Yeah, both of them typing it was exactly the same. They both had the same wording.
So that was
Just
January
here.
2, was it?
No, it was
Mare?
Mariapatu. Then the document includes sustainably managing the region's natural and physical resources. Perhaps I can ask.
Talking about these requests, 5,000, 40,000, 40,000.
No, wording to the document.
So just on the previous page on their submission, they've asked for some amendments to the HBRC activities description. Sorry, submission 25, which is Te
Section
Tai
4.
Whenua o Hiratonga. Thank you, yeah. So under their section, or their submission, the section number 4 headed HBRC's activities, they've asked for some wording changes there in the document itself.
Are the officers comfortable with the wording changes suggested?
Yep. Yep. We are, I think.
Sustainable, isn't it?
No, one's introducing some specific wording around the hydrology. This is, it was submission.
We're okay with those.
Submission 25 and submission 85.
No, exactly. We're comfortable that we could, Madam Chair, we're comfortable that we could propose some wording for Mr Drury to include before he takes it back to the auditors on Friday.
Thank you.
And that will incorporate those changes. The ones, amend the document to include sustainably managing the region's natural and physical resources, and amend the documents to include hydrology and groundwater surface water connectivity in the resilient ecosystem section.
Thank you.
If you could then pick up on submission 57, which is on page 8 of activity 2, if you have your plan with you.
Again, Madam Chair, the submitter who you heard from this morning via Ms Thompson, one of the requests that they made was in the strategic planning section of the plan, again, the inclusion of the words biological and physical hazards when they're talking about providing guidance on the management of issues through the RPS. So they're including, such issues may include land, water and air management, the coordination of infrastructure provision, climate change, biological and physical hazards, and renewable energy.
Now, it's a whole new paragraph that they have put in under the local government legislation, which actually has changed. So it's under the previous local government legislation, not the current one, not the 2002 Act. and also introducing words which are not in the RMA.
But it says may at the beginning, which also means may not.
Well, it actually states the empowering legislation for this council, and it's put a whole paragraph in around it, which is introducing quite a bit that isn't there. We've just put under the Resource Management Act. So it's quite a significant bulk of stuff that they want put in. It's in the, you've got in your submission, councillor. If you'd like to have a look it up, you can see.
They do refer to old provisions in the old Local Government Act, which is the only other thing that I would be concerned about in relation to the purpose or the role, if you like, of local government, rather than the amendment that came in 2 years ago.
Well, the staff can respond right now as to what the up-to-date legislation says.
My question to Chief Executive is, what you read out before said may,
Yes,
at the beginning of it.
yes.
If it's may, it's entirely permissible, bounds it to nothing.
Yes.
May also means may not. That's the legal definition of it.
I don't have a concern over the physical hazards aspect of it. The biological hazards, I'm not quite sure where that may lead us in terms of what may be within the scope of what we're able to do under the RMA, and I just have a greater concern about that. But the physical hazards, no, not at all.
I would ask the staff, isn't the appropriate thing is to stick to the wording that we've got, which is relating to the Act, and not introduce other people's interpretations which are not identified. Yeah. Section 6 and section 7.
Yeah. So
Matters of national importance, other matters. I know the Act off by heart.
The RMA.
No, I've read it.
Or perhaps read it for, yeah.
Yeah.
In achieving the purpose of this Act, all persons exercising functions and powers under it in relation to managing the use, development and protection of natural and physical resources shall recognise and provide for the following matters of national importance. A, the preservation of the natural character of the coastal environment, including the coastal marine area, wetlands and lakes and rivers and their margins, and the protection of them from inappropriate subdivision, use and development, and B, the protection of outstanding natural features and landscapes from inappropriate subdivision, use and development. That's 6. Oh, there's a whole lot more. C, the protection of areas of significant and indigenous vegetation and significant habitats from indigenous fauna. B, the maintenance and enhancement of public access to and along the coastal marine area, lakes and rivers. E, the relationship of Māori and their culture and traditions with their ancestral lands, water, sites, wahi tapu and other taonga. F, the protection of historical heritage from inappropriate subdivision, use and development. G, the protection of protected customary rights. That's 6.
So it is not there. Yeah. No. The paragraph that we currently have in the plan, it just states under the Resource Management Act. The paragraph that they have requested inserted refers to the Local Government Act enables, but then refers to the older legislation, which is no longer current. So my question is, would it be wise to amend the plan without any?
Look, in my view, the way that this has been put, no, would
No.
not be wise.
So those are the other change that was requested was Hastings District, and my understanding from that is they wanted to change the initial consultation document,
Yes,
which was last year.
yes.
So that is actually largely irrelevant. So I'm happy to move that we accept the wording as appropriate, the changes as appropriate, referring to submitters 25 and 85, which is Tūtai Whenua o Heratonga and Tūtai Whenua o Whanganui o Oroto, but not accept the changes as suggested by submitter 57 to introduce a new section into that activities. Right, thank you. Any other comments on that? Yes, Councillor Belford.
Is this or is this not the right place to raise the issue? This entire submission,
I'm sorry, are you talking to the motion?
I'm questioning whether the motion deals with what I'm about to question. This entire submission was about GMOs, and there were a variety of others.
No, we're just dealing with specific requests for changes to wording of the plan as it will be published once we finish these.
So does the plan refer in any way, shape, or form
We will deal
to
with some of
GMOs?
those other issues. That's another of the issues that will come up later for consideration.
Well, in fact, you've dealt with the GMO plan change request already under the section,
Others?
no, managing our environment. When you moved no change to the LTP, other than the decision had already been made around the plan change for Guardians of the, requested by Guardians of the Aquifer.
Were you speaking to the motion on the specific wording changes requested by submitters, Councillor Belford, or not? Okay, right, well, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. And I will deal now